The jungle was silent. Too silent. Saranya stood still, her blue skin glowing softly under the twin moons of planet Zerthian. She was a scientist, sent by the Galactic Research Union to study this dangerous world. Zerthion was known across the galaxy for one thing, its apex predator, the Drakethel, a huge, deadly creature with black scales. For eyes and teeth that could crush metal, no species had ever hunted a Drakethel. Most never returned from this planet. But today, Saranya had seen something strange, something that should not be possible. She checked her scanner again. The heat signaled definitely alive, definitely warm-blooded. But it was not the Drakethel. It was human. Saranya's heart raced. She had read about humans. Wild, unpredictable creatures from a small blue planet called Earth. The galaxy feared them not because they were the strongest, but because they never gave up. They adapted. They survived. Still, what was a human doing alone on a planet like this? She moved quietly through the thick green vines, her boots making soft crunching sounds on the mossy ground. The air smelled of wet soil and danger. Every step forward felt heavier than the last. Suddenly she saw a campfire. Saranya froze and crouched behind a tree. The fire crackled softly, casting orange light on the dark jungle. Near the fire sat a man, human. He wore torn clothes, made from animal skin. His face was tired, his beard thick. But he looked calm. Then she saw what was over the fire. Meat. Big, thick meat, roasting slowly. And on the ground beside him bones. Huge bones. Black scales, claws. Saranya's eyes widened. She zoomed in with her visor. It was the meat of a Drakethel. No, she whispered. That's not possible. The man poked the meat with a stick, flipped it over, and then took a bite. He chewed slowly, looked around the jungle, and smiled. He was feasting on the deadliest creature on this planet. Saranya's hands shook. She had to report this. She turned on her recorder and whispered into it. Log entry, 47. Time 0300 hours. I have found a human survivor, male, mid-30s, sitting near a fire, eating the flesh of a Drakethel. She paused, then added, he appears. Unharmed, no weapons visible, no armor, no fear. The fire popped. The man looked in her direction. Saranya quickly hid behind the tree. Her heart pounded in her chest. Had he seen her? She waited. Silent slowly, she peeked again. He was now staring into the fire, eyes distant, like he was thinking deeply. Saranya looked closer at the area. There were other bones. Some burned, some clean. Small pile of alien tech, probably from his crashed ship. A few makeshift tools sharp. Sticks, stone blades, even a spear tipped with Drake's whole claw. This man had not just survived, he had adapted. He had hunted. He had won. Saranya could hardly believe her own eyes. Why wasn't he afraid? How did he kill the Drakethel? What kind of creature kills the apex predator and eats it by firelight like it's dinner? She had to get closer. But before she could move, the man spoke. You gonna hide there all night? He said without turning his head. Saranya froze. He had known she was there all along. The man stood up, stretched his arms, and looked toward her direction. His voice was calm, steady. I don't bite, he said. But he did. He pointed at the roasted Drakethel. Saranya stepped out slowly, hands raised to show she had no weapons. You are human? Asked. The man smirked. Last time. I checked. She looked at the meat, then back at him. You killed that thing. He nodded. Tried to kill me first. Big mistake. Saranya stared at him, confused and amazed. But it's the most dangerous predator on this planet. It has armor, speed, venom. The man chuckled. Yeah, it's fast. Strong too, but not smart. Not like us. Walked closer, her curiosity. Stronger than her fear now, as the heat from the fire warmed her face. What's your name? She asked. Cole, he said, offering her a piece of meat. Want some? She didn't answer. Her mind was spinning. This wasn't just survival. This was domination. This man had turned the food chain upside down. She sat down slowly, still watching him carefully. Cole took another bite, looked at the jungle and said, "You aliens come here thinking this planet is scary, but you've never met a human with nothing to lose." Asterisk, the smell of fire and cooked meat still filled the air. Serena didn't speak for several minutes. She just watched the human named Cole, sitting calmly beside the fire, as if he belonged there. He was not scared, not cold, not tired. Instead, he looked like this jungle was his home, and the deadly beasts were just annoying neighbors. Serena was trained to understand alien behavior. She had studied over 100 species, but this man, he didn't match any profile. There was something strange in his silence. It's not fear, not anger, something deeper. He finally broke the quiet. "You're not the first one to find me," Cole said, without looking at her. "But you're the first to ask my name." Serena blinked. "Others found you?" Cole nodded. "A few drones. A scout ship. None stayed long." "What happened to them?" He poked the fire. "You're still here? That should tell you something." Serena felt a chill, despite the fire's heat. She looked at his camp. It was not advanced, just basic. Tools, handmade traps, sharpened sticks, and a few melted pieces of alien tech turned into weapons. But everything was used wisely. Nothing wasted, nothing random. "Did your ship crash here?" she asked to Cole's side. "Yeah, 5 weeks ago. Engine failure. My team didn't make it. I'm sorry." He nodded slowly. They weren't ready for this planet. Most people aren't. Serena looked at the jungle around them. She had seen creatures with claws like swords, insects that could melt metal, and vines that moved when you weren't looking. "How did you survive?" she asked quietly. Cole finally looked at her. His eyes were sharp, not wild but focused, like someone who had been through hell and walked out smarter. "I stopped acting like prey," he said. "That's the secret." Serena tilted her head. "Explain. You aliens always treat us like soft animals, weak bodies, emotional minds. But you forget one thing: humans don't stay soft. We change. We become what we need to be." He stood up and walked to a tree nearby, and with a quick pull, he removed a hidden spear, sharpened with drakethal bone. "The first week," he continued, "I ran, I hid, I screamed, just like any normal person would. But then I realized, this jungle respects only one thing: power." Serena watched him carefully. There was no madness in his eyes, no pride, just truth. "So I gave it what it is." "Respects," he said. She stood up too. "You mean you became the hunter?" Cole gave a small smile. "That's one way to say it." Serena stepped closer. "How did you kill the Drakethal?" Cole looked at the skull hanging beside his tent. "Trickery, fire, patience. You don't fight a monster with muscles, you fight it with mind." Had never heard a human speak like this. Not in person. It's not on any recording. This wasn't war talk. It was survival turned into art. Cole turned to her. "You're a scientist, right?" She nodded. "Then study this," he said. "I had no weapons, no support, nothing. Yet here I am." Serena looked around. Bones, traps, burned vines, scorch marks. It was not just survival, it was territory. He had claimed this place like a king. "You're not afraid of this world," she said. "I was," Cole replied. "But fear is a tool. You use it, or you let it eat you." For the first time, Serena felt something she never expected to. Feel around a human, respect. Double quotes, "Do you want rescue?" She asked softly. Cole paused, then said, "Only if I choose it. Not because someone thinks I need saving." Serena nodded. She opened her scanner and sent a silent ping to her ship, disabling. The emergency beacon. Cole noticed. "What was that?" She smiled. "Just telling my ship ... to wait." He raised an eyebrow. "Why?" Serena sat by the fire again. "So I came to study predators, but I think it found something bigger." Cole looked at her for a moment, then laughed quietly. "Welcome to the jungle," he said. The jungle didn't sleep. It only waited, watched, and listened. Cole sat by the fading fire, his eyes half closed, but his ears sharp. He didn't rest like normal people anymore, not after what he had seen, not after what he had fought Serenia. Couldn't stop thinking. She had seen strong creatures before. She had seen soldiers, hunters, even killers. But this human was different. His strength came not from his body, but from something deeper. Colder around them, the jungle moved, soft. Wind stirred the leaves. Strange birds called in the distance, but there was another sound now, softer, almost hidden. Something was watching them. Cole stood up slowly, his hand reaching for the spear near his tent. Didn't speak, didn't blink. He just listened. You hear it too, Serenia whispered, her alien senses picking up something unnatural. Something wrong, Cole nodded once, his voice low. It's not the Drakethul. His worst Serena's scanner lit up, but only for a second. Then it went black. The signal jammed. Just like the last time before the attack, Cole whispered, "Move." "To the rocks. Stay low. Don't run," she followed without question. Crawling behind him to a group of sharp black stones nearby, they hid behind them, their breathing slow. Controlled then, they saw Ida's shape move between the trees. Large, smooth, quiet. Too quiet for something so big. It had 6 legs, eyes that glowed faint orange, and a body covered in shadowy scales. Different from the Drakethul, faster, smarter. It didn't roar. It didn't sniff the air. It just stalked. "That's new," Cole said, his grip tight on his weapon. Serenia whispered, "It's not hunting to eat. It's hunting to eliminate." Cole looked at her, then back at the creature. A cleaner, maybe. An evolved version or something else entirely. The creature sniffed the camp, circled the fire, then snapped its jaws near the meat. Testing, tasting the air, but then, suddenly, its head turned straight toward the rocks. Toward them it knew. Cole didn't wait. He grabbed a burning stick from the fire with one hand and threw a stone with the other. The noise echoed to the left. The flames drew its eyes to the right. A second of confusion. That's all he needed. "Run," he whispered. They dashed through the jungle, branches slashing, leaves whipping behind them. The sound of something heavy crashing through trees. Faster than it should be, Cole dove into a deep trench, pulling Serenia with him. They landed hard. But safe for the moment, he looked at her. "This thing is learning." Serenia nodded, her hands shaking slightly. "It's not just a predator. It's a thinker." Cole's eyes narrowed. "Then we need to stop thinking like prey that night." They set traps, not just simple ones, but smart ones, with fire, noise, scent, and movement. Cole moved through the jungle like he owned it. Serenia followed, helping with alien tech, laying sensor mines, building heat decoys. "Why do you do this?" she asked him once, as they waited in the darkness. He didn't answer at first, then said, "Because I don't like being hunted." The jungle grew colder near dawn. Fog crawled along the ground, and everything went still again, to still then. The trap triggered a loud snap, a burst of light. The creature screamed, a deep, horrible sound that shook the trees. Cole leaped from the shadows. Spear raised, fire in his eyes. The battle was fast, brutal, beautiful in its chaos. Serenia used her scanner to blind the creature with flashes. Cole struck low, aiming for the soft joints beneath its legs. It fought back hard, tail swinging, claws slicing the air, but Cole didn't back down. He danced around it, always moving, always one step ahead. Then, with a final leap, he drove the spear deep into its neck. The creature howled once more, then collapsed. Silence, just wind and firelight. Cole stood over the body, breathing hard, his face cut, his arms bruised. But his eyes calm. Serenia stepped forward, amazed, speechless. This was no normal predator. She said softly. Cole nodded. "I know, which means more may be coming." He looked at the dead beast, then at the stars above the jungle. "They don't want me to survive," said. "They want me erased." Serenia looked at him, confused. "Why?" Cole's answer was cold and quiet. "Because I'm human, and they're scared of what that means." Asterisk, the jungle wasn't quiet anymore. It was watching, like it had eyes in every tree, every leaf, every shadow. Cole didn't sleep. He just leaned against a rock, eyes open, body still, listening to the night like it was whispering, Secret Sirenia, stood nearby, holding her scanner tight, even though it had stopped working hours ago. The machine refused to track anything, like the jungle had learned how to hide from technology. I've never seen creatures evolve this fast. She said softly. Cole didn't answer. He just stared into the dark, his jaw tight around them. The wind moved in strange ways, not smooth, but broken. Like something large was shifting through the trees without sound. Then came the first scream, not human, not animal. Something worse, a sound full of rage and pain. Echoing from deep in the jungle, Sirenia flinched, her skin shivering under her armor. That wasn't a normal predator, no, Cole said, finally standing. That was a warning to who? She asked. Cole looked at her, eyes sharp. To us, they packed fast. Fire out, traps reset, no light. Only silence, but the jungle wasn't silent anymore. It mimicked them. No branches snapped exactly how Cole snapped them yesterday. Bird calls, repeated in perfect timing. Even Sirenia's voice echoed back to her from the trees. But distorted, broken, wrong. This is impossible, she whispered. Mimic predators can't do this. Not on this planet. Cole's face stayed calm, but his hand gripped the blade tighter. They're not just hunting us, he said. They're learning us for hours. They moved in circles, never stopping, never resting. Each time they thought they had escaped, the signs returned, fresh claw marks, footprints in their exact path. Even fire ash, where their old camp had been there. Following us step by step, Sirenia said, panic in her voice. Cole didn't blink. They're not following. They're mirroring that night. As the fog settled again, they stopped on high ground, surrounded by jagged stone, no vines, no trees close enough to climb. The safest place left. Sirenia sat, her arms around her knees, exhausted. How are you so calm? She asked Cole, her voice shaking. He looked at the jungle, his expression unreadable. Because this isn't the first time I've been hunted. She waited, thinking he wouldn't say more, but then he spoke, voice low before the crash. I was deployed to Zarian 6 enemy territory, full of rebels, full of traps. We lost contact with command and had to survive on instinct. I was the only one who came back. Sirenia looked at him differently now, not just as a survivor, but as someone built for survival. What happened to the others? She asked. Cole stared at the dark sky. They waited for rescue. I made a knife. A sharp sound broke the silent stone, scraping stone. They both turned. Nothing. There, then a whisper, not the wind, not a voice, but a copy of a voice. Sirenia's own voice saying, I made a knife. She froze. Wasn't Khalid. Was something else. Repeating his words from a minute ago, Cole's eyes narrowed. They're not hunting us for food anymore. Said they're hunting us for data. They moved. Again, this time to a narrow cave. Deep, cold, damp, but defensible. Cole placed noise traps, bits of bone on string, sharp rocks tied to branches. If anything moved, they'd know. They waited in the dark, breathing slow. Hearts beating like drums. Hours passed. Thence, single bone dropped to the ground. They looked at each other, then another sound, slower this time, intentional. Like something testing them. Cole raised his spear then. Out of the darkness came a hand, long, pale, thin, not human, but not beast. It reached into the cave slowly, carefully, like it knew where they were. Sirenia held her breath. Cole didn't wait. He grabbed the hand and drove his blade through it. A roar echoed through the tunnel. Not loud, but full of anger and surprise. As if the creature wasn't expecting to feel pain. It's bleeding, Cole said, smiling slightly. That means it can die. But the victory was short. The creature didn't run. It backed away, slow, calm, like it had learned something, like it had taken a lesson. Then it disappeared. Then it looked at Cole. This thing. It's not alone, is it? Shook his head. No, that was just one of them. The jungle was on fire, not with flames, but with eyes. Dozens of them, glowing like lanterns in the trees. Blinking in silence, watching, waiting, Hunt and Cole stood still at the cliff's edge, staring into the dark forest below. His clothes torn, skin bruised, blood dried on his arms, but his eyes, they were calm, cold, focused beside him. Sirenia checked the last trap, her fingers trembling. not from fear, but from too little sleep. In too much survival, they're closing in. She whispered, "Every direction, every angle I know," Cole said, tightening the bone straps on his wrist. "That's exactly what we want." The wind howled through the rocks, carrying the scent of ash, sweat, and something metallic-like. "Blood before it hits the ground?" Serenia looked at him, confused. "We want them to come." Cole nodded once. "I'm done running. It's time we teach them who the real hunters are." He turned to her, his voice steady, clear. "Like steel cutting through fog tonight, we end this," he said. "We make this jungle remember us for." 3 days, they had been chased, tricked, copied, nearly killed. The creatures had grown smarter, faster, more silent, but Cole had been watching too, learning. Adapting just like a human does, he knew their rhythm now, their patterns, their weakness. They hunted like a pack, but they followed a queen, a larger one. Hidden from view, directing the rest, smarter than the others, more cautious. More deadly, that was his target. Serenia laid the final energy trap near the ravine, wiring it to a heat bomb salvaged from her shuttle wreck. She wiped the sweat from her brow and whispered, "It's armed." Cole nodded, checked his spear, then tossed a piece of burned Drakethal meat into the open path bait. They waited in the shadows, hidden among stone and vine, wind in their ears. Hearts pounding like war drums then. The first one arrived, slithering between trees. It moved like smoke, like shadow with claws, sniffing, tasting the air. Then another came, then 2 more. None spoke. None growled. They didn't need to, they were focused, Cole whispered. Not yet. The creatures stepped into the trap zone now. Itsidenia hit the trigger, a flash of white light. A burst of heat, the trap exploded, stunning the first 2 beasts. Blasting fire across the path, one screeched and fell, the other ran straight. Into Cole's blade, the jungle lit up in chaos. More came from the left, from the trees above, from beneath the ground. Cole fought like a storm. Every strike clean, every movement sharp, his mind faster than his body. Serenia covered him, firing. Her last plasma bolt at a creature charging from behind. It fell hard, skidding into the dirt, limbs twitching. Then the earth shook. The queen had arrived, towering above the others. 6 limbs, golden eyes, body covered in ancient scars. She walked like a god through fire, her gaze landing straight on Cole. "She's here," Serenia whispered. "I see her," Cole replied, blood on his lips, fire in his voice. The queen didn't charge. She moved slow, sure of herself, the way a lion watches a mouse before the final bite. She roared once, and the others backed away. This was her fight. Now Cole stepped forward. No traps, no tech, just a spear and a glare that burned hotter than any sun. They clashed like titans. Steel and bone, fire and cloth. The queen was faster, stronger, but Cole was smarter. Sliding under her swings, dodging tail whips, striking her joints, her neck, her Serenia, injured but breathing. Crawled to the final detonator, a last resort. Charge buried under the ridge, aimed right at the cliff where the queen stood. Cole, fall back. She shouted, but he didn't move. He stabbed again, deeper this time. The queen screamed. Grabbed him with one massive claw, ready to crush. Serenia hit the switch. The ridge exploded. Rock and flame bursting upward, swallowing them both. Silence followed. The jungle stopped breathing then. From the smoke and ash, figure emerged, limping, burned, bleeding but alive. Cold, dragging the queen's broken jaw behind him like a trophy. He dropped it at Serenia's feet now. He said, coughing, "They know what we are." Asterisk, the jungle was quiet again. This time it wasn't waiting, it was remembering. Ash floated in the wind like snow. Bones cracked under soft footsteps, and the fire no longer danced. It simply glowed, tired and still. Serenia sat by the remains of the camp. Her armor scratched, her skin bruised, but her eyes, they were different now. Older somehow, like they had seen something they weren't ready for across from her. Cole sharpened his spear not because he needed to, but because it kept his hands busy, kept the silence away. Neither of them spoke. Not for a long time. The queen was dead. The others scattered. The jungle had lost its apex. But something else had taken its place. Something without fangs or claws. Something with a human heart, finally. Serenia broke the silence. "You shouldn't be alive," she said. Quietly, Cole didn't look up. "I know," he replied. She looked at the broken trees, the crater in the ridge, the burned-out trail where he had dragged the queen's remains. "No. One survives that," she whispered. Cole gave a tired smile. "Humans do." She didn't respond at first, just stared at him. "You keep saying that," she said, like it explains everything. "But it doesn't, not really." He paused, then set down the spear, finally meeting her eyes. "You want the truth?" He asked. Serenia nodded. Slowly, Cole looked toward the jungle, the dead trees, the blood in the soil. "The truth is," he said, "we're not the strongest species, not the fastest, not the smartest either." He pointed to his head, then his chest. "But we have this, and this, and we never, ever stop using them." Serenia listened closely, her scanner recording every word, not for science this time, but for understanding. "We come from a world full of storms, volcanoes, predators, diseases, wars. Generation, we were supposed to die," Cole said. "But we didn't." He leaned forward, voice calm, but sharp. "Not because we're fearless, but because we fear better than anyone else." Serenia tilted her head. "Confused? Fear better?" Cole nodded. "We feel fear. Deep. It cuts into our bones. But we don't freeze. We move. We change. We get stronger because we're scared. Not in spite of it." She looked at her notes, then back at him. "That's why you adapted so fast?" "Adapted," Cole said, shaking his head. "No. I became what I had to be." "You became a monster," she said, not judging. Just observing. He looked into the dying fire, eyes hard. "No. I became worse than the monster that was hunting me, 'cause that's what it took to win." She sat back, silent for a long time, letting the weight of those words settle her. People had studied thousands of species. Some noble, some violent, some advanced beyond imagination, but none of them could do what this man had done. Not just survive, not just kill, but learn. Adapt and outmatch a world that was never meant for him. "You're not a soldier anymore," she said softly. "No," Cole replied. "I'm something else now. Something this jungle will never forget." She added. He stood slowly, stretching, sore limbs, looking at the sky, where the stars were starting to return through the smoke. "I don't want to be remembered," he said. "I just want to go home." Serenia closed her scanner. "No," she said, "you changed something here. Maybe something bigger than you realize." He turned to her. Curious, she looked at the jungle, then back at him. "When a planet forgets its fear," she said, "someone like you comes along and reminds it." Cole smiled faintly. "We're good." At that asterisk, she came to study the apex predator of Zerthion. But what she found was something far more dangerous, a human, with nothing left to lose. The ship came down through the red sky like a falling tear, slow, silent, shining with silver light. No one on the jungle floor looked up, not even the beasts. They knew something had changed. They could feel it in the roots and the wind. In the silence, Serenia stood at the edge of the broken ridge, her hand resting gently on a stone still stained with the queen's blood. Her body was healing, but her mind would never be the same behind her. Cole sat on a log, sharpening a stick. Not because he needed a weapon, but because it kept him grounded. He didn't look at the ship either. He had already left this place. In his heart, Serenia's communicator beeped softly. A voice from her command center spoke through the static. "Scientist Serenia. Status report. Are you safe?" She didn't answer right away. Instead, she looked around, at the jungle that had once tried to kill them, at the trees that now bent gently in the wind. It was like the planet had stopped breathing fire and had begun to watch carefully. Nervously, "I am safe," she said finally, "but the world is not the same anymore." "What do you mean?" The voice as Serenia turned, her eyes resting on Colche, whispered. "The apex predator is no longer at the top." Silence followed on the channel. Serenia stepped toward Cole, who stood slowly and faced her. "They want to take you home," she said. He looked at the jungle one last time, then nodded. "I've had enough of this planet's hospitality." They walked together toward the ship's landing zone, the path quiet, The birds not calling, the shadows not moving, as if the jungle itself was giving them a warning or, maybe, a goodbye before stepping onto the loading ramp. Cole paused and looked back. Lorena watched him closely. "What are you thinking?" she asked. He didn't smile, didn't frown. "I came here a man," he said softly. "I'm leaving something else." She nodded slowly. Understanding more than she could explain, he stepped aboard Serenia, turned on her recorder one final time. Her voice clear, steady. "Final report," she began. "Subject, human male, survivor of Zerthion designation. Cole summary. He did not escape the jungle. He conquered it." She looked into the camera, her face serious. Her voice low. "He hunted the planet's apex predator, killed it, and fed on it like a campfire meal." She paused, then added, "He didn't do it with advanced weapons or an army or luck. He did it with his will, with his mind, and with a kind of fury I've never seen before." She took a breath. "We assumed humans were dangerous. But we were wrong. They are not dangerous because they destroy. They are dangerous because they endure. And they refuse to lose." Her last words were quiet, almost a whisper. She couldn't believe it. The human was feasting on the planet's apex predator. The jungle was too afraid to stop him. The transmission ended. The jungle remained still and high above. The ship disappeared into the stars. Zerthion would grow again, creatures would rise, predators would evolve, but the memory would remain of the day a human came, saw, and became the fear itself.